Okay, so welcome everyone to the Mansfield Area Chamber of Commerce. And we have candidates with us this morning for City Council. And I'm going to go ahead and we'll start with Scott. If you just introduce yourself and come on down the line and then we'll get started.
Great. My name is Scott Bowman. I'm running for Mansfield City Council, place 3.
And my name is Brent Newsom, and I'm also running for Mansfield City Council, place 3.
Gary Cardinelli, I'm running for Mansfield City Council, place 6.
And Todd Tenori, I'm running for Mansfield City Council, place 6.
All right. So here's how we're going to work it. We're going to put a topic on the table. They have cards that they've already drawn, and they will draw a card for who actually gets to answer it first. They'll give 1 minute of whatever their thought is, whatever they feel strongly about on that topic. And then we'll go down the line on that. And then we'll open it up after that for about 3-4 minutes on the topic and let group discussion happen. So we are hoping to see some entertainment today.
Good.
All right. So let's go ahead and draw a card. Gary. All right. Okay, so our first topic is, we'll start with kind of an easy one to get you primed here. What do you feel the number one priority for Mansfield is?
Obviously, the buzzword is growth, sustained growth, planned growth. I'm concerned about traffic. If you go to any major intersection, Matlock, Debbie Lane, Walnut Creek, Heritage Parkway now, I'm concerned about traffic, and I think we need quality growth, but we need measured growth. I'm concerned about our school populations. In fact, I just left a school where I'm substituting. I've got to go back there. And sometimes, obviously, they don't have enough teachers, so I'm afraid I don't want our population to balloon where we can't provide our basic core services. And I think that's what we need to be doing. Limited government, core services, maintain our growth, but quality growth. And I think we need to take measures to actually kind of slow down our growing population. I think that's important.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to remain focused on growth, control growth. We need to try to really figure out ways to get our children back here. We're kind of aging in place here in Mansfield. That really kind of concerns me. And so, you know, this council, we've been very focused on that, trying to provide alternate housing options for our kids, things, entertainment venues, things that they would like to see in order to recruit them back to our hometown. So number one priority, traffic, absolutely. Trying to figure out ways to get everybody off the same 4 intersections in town. It's amazing that when the town was laid out or zoned, it seemed like we separated our businesses from our residents. And what that did is basically create a lot of traffic. So as we develop the south side of town, we got an opportunity to get it right this time. Build a lot more arteries in and out of these neighborhoods, provide shopping in those areas, corner markets, delis, things that more walkability, things that'll take the traffic off of our core areas as we see them today. Yeah.
All right. The two of you, which one's first?
Got 10. Yes, I think we talked about it before. I mean, growth is obviously the most impactful thing that's going on in the city right now. Now, growth is a very encompassing piece of thought process. I mean, because not only are we talking about roads, we're talking about access to, either entertainment or talking about access to grocery stores. What is that going to look like? And I think it's, people talk about 20-25% left of our land that's developable. I think at this point, Mansfield has a great opportunity to be extremely selective in the projects that we want to have inside our city. And, there's been a migration lately of the council taking a more proactive role in what that development looks like. That hadn't always been the case. If that's the change in the voice of the citizens, then that's great, and that's what we're directed to do. That's what we do, and we take a more proactive approach to that. And with that proactive approach, I think we all should be excited about what Mansfield has to offer and be selective.
Shocker, growth is the number one priority. I think that it does encompass so many different facets. We've got aging infrastructure that needs to be addressed. And so while we're looking forward with that growth, going from 80,000 to 130, 135,000 people in the next 15 years or so, we also need to take care of the citizens that we have here now. And we need to make sure that their needs are being met as that growth occurs. So infrastructure, not only with roads, but with water and sewer, easements for utilities and things like that. We need to make sure that we are not only looking towards that population that's coming, but take care of who's here now. In addition to that, we need to make sure that we put our public safety as a priority. As we change, our population is going to change, and we're going to need to train and empower and retain the great people that we have doing public safety now. We need to attract businesses that are sustainable. We need to bring in those right businesses that will provide jobs for our residents now and for the future.
Okay, all right, so you guys have set the stage for a good conversation on growth. Since that's where you all seem to think that's the number one thing. So let's put 4 minutes on the clock and let's talk about growth. So I'm opening it up, and who went first this last time? All right, Gary, so we'll start with you and move on.
Okay. I think growth is not bad. I think controlled growth. This city was kind of laid out with the single family mix of industrial, commercial, single family. We've moved into some multifamily developments, which are fine. We don't want to overburden our infrastructure with multifamily, mixed use residential with apartments. Now, those have their place, don't get me wrong. But I think the more population you bring in, as Scott had mentioned, and I think Brent mentioned it too, your infrastructure starts to get strapped. And it's just not roads, it's utilities, it's public safety, it's your parks, it's your medians. People forget about medians. You have to maintain those. That's a cost. There's a cost to medians. And then, of course, your schools. I'm really concerned about that. I just think our school, I'm not in favor of bringing in more. And I understand the school funding formula. I think we need less. I think smaller classrooms are better.
I will say, I'm sorry,
Go ahead, Scott.
I want to say, I agree, controlled growth and managing that growth is key. The construction fatigue that we've seen throughout the city with, roads being under construction all the time. We need to make sure that we do planned and strategic growth, but at the same time, we don't want to lose out on opportunities. I totally agree with Brent. We're at a great opportunity to make Mansfield incredible over the next 15 years. And if we don't act on some of those opportunities, we're going to lose them to our neighboring cities. Absolutely. We're in competition with them, and we're also partnering with them at the same time. If they don't come here, they're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, as we continue to talk about growth, I still think we don't want to miss ultimately what the key function of city government is. I mean, there's some one, the other is our utilities and police, fire, and those types of services. And with growth, everybody wants to talk about this particular issue and have some specific overlays within inside those major thoroughfares. We talk about David Lane or Broad. We could do something similar to like a Turd or PID, which allows for incremental tax growth in those areas to come in and continue to support those roads themselves. And I think ideas like that we have the opportunity to take advantage of, I think that's very worthwhile. When you're talking about growth and looking at being competitive, I mean, having a city that is competitive from a police and fire. I mean, as over the years, finally getting the construction started on our new police station. I mean, that's important to be be competitive to attract the most highly qualified individuals. And not only from a business standpoint, but also the people that are working here to support our existing citizenry and provide those services that they, and those high quality service that they expect.
Yeah, I think it's important that we be realistic. And being realistic by that, I mean, it's impossible for us to stop the growth. So it's very important that we learn how to manage it and deal with it. When I moved here in 1990, there was 3 million people in DFW. Today, there's 8 million. So, they're coming, they're here. Our city is going to continue to grow. And I just think it's important that we play a big part in that. I would rather play a part in these mixed use developments, working with our developers that are coming in here so we get the best product on the ground, because they're coming anywhere. So I think it's important that we continue to work close with the developers. One of the interesting things to me is the majority of the land we have left in town is selling for anywhere from $8 to $15 a foot. And if you do the math, I don't think people understand how much that is. 1 acre land in this town for our future growth is ranging somewhere in the neighborhood of $300,000 to $600,000 per acre. Per acre. So think about who can afford to live there. Think about what we can afford, what businesses. As a business guy, I'm trying to figure out what types of business can afford to go on that land. There's only certain things that can go there. Big mixed developments with a little bit of everything, restaurants, office, hotels. Those things can afford it. Warehouse distribution, yeah, it can afford it, but is that really what we want for our city? We really want all those 18 wheelers and all the extended cost on our infrastructure and our kids forever. So, we're somewhat limited on what we can allow, what's coming to this city based on the land prices that our landowners are able to get for their property. And I sure don't want to do anything on council to prevent them from being able to sell their land at the highest price they can get it. So.
Hey, any other final thoughts before we move on to another topic? All right, draw a card.
I didn't go first,
Oh, you do, don't you?
yeah,
All right.
make it easy.
Let's talk about economic development.
Well, I think, we're so blessed in this town. One of the things that I've really enjoyed, I spent a tremendous amount of time on economic development, working with Jason Moore, our new EDC guy. I mean, we've been doing a lot of pitching instead of catching. We travel all over the country trying to recruit the businesses that we want to see here. We're blessed to have Jason Moore as part of our team. Forever in Mansfield, we were focused primarily on it. Well, today it was part of kind of what I was saying earlier. We've got to try to focus on the things to get the young people back, the things that they want. The Clear Fork type projects, and we're better than we still need industrial, trust me, and we've got great industrial here. We as a city have been spending a lot of money with incentives with our current companies that are here. Just in the last couple of years, we've given incentives to Mauser and B2, BCB and Cellmark and you name them. I mean, we're doing all we can do to support. We're bringing in multiple companies that are coming. The Super Studio is going to be tremendous. I was in Washington this past week, and one of the council members for Grand Prairie walked up to me and goes, "How did y'all get that away from us?" Finally, we get something away from it. Thank you. So, but again, having a strong economic development person within the city has been tremendous. And Jason has come from other cities and been very successful. So now as a city, we're getting a look. Before we didn't get a look. Today, we're getting a look at a lot of things other cities are getting. And I think it's important to note that everything we want, other cities want too.
Okay, Gary.
I agree that economic development is important. There's no question. from my perspective, working for the city for 30 years, I've been through, I went through the downturns where we had to recruit and give up incentives, and we're still doing that. But your largest taxpayers in this town are industrial taxpayers, Mauser Electronics, Klein Tools, all your large warehouse areas. So if you start calculating the taxes on those, school taxes, city taxes, they are large taxpayers that support our city and our schools. So while I agree with Todd that economic development is extremely important, I think we need to be selective, and we don't have to chase great thing. We just don't. They will come to us. Klein Tools came to us. Mauser was here. Selmark. I mean, I can go down the list. And I think we mentioned that taking care of our businesses currently in town are important. I think we need to be selective. I think large, and depending on where we put them, industrial warehouse complexes do pay for themselves in the long run. They just do. They will. I'm not worried about.
Time.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Baseline. All right, so a strong local economy is very important for the future of Mansfield, definitely. By the time we're built out at 130,000 people, 15, 17 years from now, we need to diversify our tax base, and building that strong local economy is a key to offsetting the taxes for our homeowners. A couple of key things we need to do is, with every problem, we need to not only draw a line in the sand, we need to take care of the future, take care of what's behind. We need to support our local businesses. We need to ensure that we're creating opportunities for them to work together, partner with the chamber, allow us to work with our existing businesses to help them be prosperous. In the future, we need to be able to simplify processes so that we can attract, or the businesses that are being attracted to us will be able to get in easier. The process may be hurdles and challenging and have some cumbersome pieces. We need to simplify that and make sure that when people are coming, we're able to catch them.
Right.
As far as economic development goes, I mean, it's a two-part process. I mean, we're talking about bringing both businesses in, then we're also helping to retain our existing businesses. And when you're looking at bringing businesses in, you want to be conscious of what you're getting in return. Now, industrial is good, but often depending on how, not to get too much in the weeds on it, but depending on how long some of those products in there, you may not get personal property tax from those. You might just get ad valorem tax from those entities. So you want to make sure that those businesses that you're bringing in are not only providing ad valorem taxes, you're also providing personal property tax and sales tax, and potentially generating sales tax revenue as well. But that's an important piece, not to miss. And then making, as I said the other day in our interview, making it an easier process for those developers when they're coming in, and having an understanding of what those parameters for development are from an economic development standpoint is very important. I think the council did actually a great job developing that zoning, because that allows those developers to know what those boundaries are. And I think that's an important key as well.
Okay, so you four have heard what each other have had to say about economic development. So let's take about 4 minutes and talk about it amongst yourselves now. Did one of you say something you want to say something to? All right.
Well, I'm glad Brent brought up some. I think it's, I wish some was in place when the reserve was built out, or excuse me, when it was approved. It allows this council and future councils to prioritize how those developments are built out. So if there's so many apartment complexes or retail or restaurants or office in those developments, this council or future council has the ability to say, yeah, you can build this apartment complex, but before you build the other one, you have to build the office, or you have to build the entertainment venue, or you have to build X. And that's what the reserve does not allow this council and future councils to do. And that's why you're seeing the apartments built. The only thing this council can do is try to get the best product on the ground. Because unfortunately, the fact that most of these developers, they want some form of incentive from the city council and the staff then we have the ability to do that. We do have a say. But they can also pull up and say, hey, if you don't give us what we're asking for, we can build it anyway. And by right, they can absolutely build it anyway. So we're doing a lot of juggling right now with these developers that are in town and have a lot of this property tied up.
Okay, Gary?
What Todd said is correct. I would go, but I would offer a different view. I think there is a way to stop it. I think the council, planning and zoning, some of these other folks, I think we just need to stop approving these things via moratorium on apartments and mixed use that include apartments, or just meet with the developer and see if we can zone it a different way. Some is a great thing. Nobody denies that. But I think you need to slow that down. And I think you can if you work with the developers and offer them an alternative. I'm not anti-apartment, nor am I anti-mixed use, to the contrary. But what I am, we need to slow this down until our infrastructure catches up. Yes, some of it we haven't been able to stop. That is correct. But in 30 years of seeing this, there are certain things you can do. Zoning changes all the time with a different council and a different philosophy. You know, and currently there's been a lot of more zoning classifications. Before we had a few, you know, single family, residential, commercial, and we've expanded it from there. But I think there are some things you can do to slow that down, work with the developers in putting something else in. Incentives are a fact of life. You're going to have to give incentives away. We're in a competitive environment.
I do want to say, thank you,
Go ahead.
Todd, for bringing by name. Soma is a great alternative to what the reserve is for us right now. We do have some specific things we need to deal with in the reserve, and the Soma comes in and provides that form-based zoning rather than the Euclidean that we're so used to. Economic development, we need to have a trained workforce here. We need to bring in great jobs, and we need our workforce here. It's so great to see so many ISD people here at the chamber today. The joint meeting we had a couple of weeks ago with City Council and ISD was real refreshing to hear how everybody wants to work together for development that's coming around to train people to work in these jobs. I think bringing in great high-paying jobs and training our workforce to be here in Mansfield is a great opportunity for us.
You know, economic development is imperative for a city when there's developable land. I mean, everybody probably knows, or maybe will know soon, you know, there's propositions on the next ballot to adjust the types, potentially adjust the types of funding that the Economic Development Corporation has the ability to use inside the city. And I think it is, I'm in favor of those propositions. It gives the economic development more tools in their belt to go out and attract investment within inside our city in a different way than they have before. And I think only giving them the ability to be flexible is a key, because not every economic development project is going to be the same. You want to be able to, with them, work through what their needs are versus what the city's needs are. And I think that's a big piece that we've been missing lately, because we've been limited on some of the types of, if you're talking about providing incentives, some of the types of incentive projects or incentives to be able to provide a certain projects has been limited. And I think expanding that is only going to be beneficial for the city of Mansfield.
I agree. I also support the two propositions that are on the May 6th ballot. I'm sure others can respond to that as well. Creates a diverse opportunity for us, and we have the ability to bring in different opportunities for people to work in, entrepreneurship. I think that providing co-working spaces and incubators for our trained workforce is a great way to keep our Mansfield people here, and it allows us to keep that tax here as well.
I think the new innovation center that's just been approved on Heritage will play a major role in that. So we're excited about that. We have, Johnny Sellers, one of our major business owners in town, is very excited. I mean, we'll have an opportunity there to train our workforce. We're doing, the school district does a great job at Ben Barber, but we really need an opportunity to train our older citizens to get some of those higher paying jobs that truthfully we want to see here. So there'll be, the super studios is exciting for me because there's gonna be a lot of jobs in there that I don't think folks are thinking about. There's a lot of engineers that are gonna be that hired for there, a lot of sound engineers, a lot of production engineers, a lot of electrical engineers. So building those big stages for those movies is a big deal. So, you know, I think this council has moved forward with the innovation center. It's going to play a big role in that.
Yeah, one of the things we need to not lose focus on is, you know, what are, when, as far as the economic standpoint, when businesses are looking to locate here, what employee base do they have access to? And where is that going to come from? Is it going to come, are we going to help provide that from a student standpoint from the district, from our school district? And if so, then we need to be able to work together with our business community and our school district to make sure that, you know, even now, some of the legislation that's being proposed that will impact the way schools are graded on their development, like the video that Lori put out the other day. It's important to understand how it all really will work together and allowing those pieces to fit so that we're not, the school district's ultimately is not going to be limited on the types of programs or product, you know, programs or classes that they're able to offer, which ultimately benefit our business community. Because if you do that, you're going to hurt entrepreneurship, you're going to hurt, you know, access to a workforce that if, you know, our goal is to, you know, have our families move here. I mean, you know, my kids are moving here and they'll have kids. So my grandkids are going to be in this area. So we want to make sure that there's the availability of jobs and or, you know, here that will allow them to work and be able to support what they cost-wise that'll take to live in the city of Mansfield, because it's not necessarily cheap, but working towards programs that let kids see what that opportunity is and what they have out there that is accessible, and, you know, making sure that those two pieces work together. I think it's
All
important.
right, let's throw something else out. Throw out a card. All right, your favorite subject. Who gets to go first?
Queen.
King.
All right. Apartments.
Apartments.
Yeah.
I am not opposed to apartments. I'm not opposed to mixed use retail with some apartment component. What I am opposed to is putting them all over town in different areas. You can look on the city's GIS website and see where the traffic problems are now. It's on there. But your eyes will tell you where the traffic problems are. I just believe that if we put, I don't know what we have approved yet, Todd probably knows more than I do, but 1,000 more apartments. I read a study the other day. Each household in Texas has 2.3 cars. And you're gonna put those on the roads. You just are. Traffic is gonna get worse. I mean, anybody that drives from 287 either way coming into town, you know what it's like to try to get off at Broad or Walnut Creek or anywhere else. So. Thank you.
All right. Todd?
Parks, nobody's ever brought that up to me. That's all I've heard. I've been in this seat for 2 years now, and that's all I've heard. It's been very frustrating as a city council member that is basically inherited zoning dating back to 2005 on apartments that were approved. And Gary, to your earlier statement, I wish we could stop them in certain places. I've been told by our legal staff that we can't stop them. I've been told once a landowner's granted zoning, he pretty much has that zoning and only he can change it. So, but again, you know, there's certain things as a business guy, when you cross over into government like I have, you try to pay attention to what the lawyers around you tell you. So as far as apartments go, I'm all for it in areas where we need business, period. Businesses follow rooftops. It's not the opposite.
Okay.
All right, as already mentioned, there's a bunch of places throughout town that already have zoning for apartments, and there's not much we can do there. We can control quality of those apartments. We can ensure that we're getting the best product possible in those places. We can ensure that the traffic studies are being done. We can ensure that there's enough infrastructure in place for those apartments to be there. And by right, those people have that ability. Outside of that area, I'm hard pressed to vote for standalone apartments. We already have enough places zoned for that. I am a fan of mixed use, a sustainable area, a walkable area, a common place where people can park and be able to live and have people who can support locally owned businesses, small shops. And I also would support the ability to have good transition from those apartment complexes that are zoned by right to the single family homes that are there. We need to have pieces in place. We do have 5845 livable apartments are under construction right now. That seems like a lot.
Multifamily has always been a difficult question. From a zoning perspective, zoning is zoning. You know, you are limited by what the right is. Project wise, zone multifamily that is already zoned within inside the city, I think is adequate for current and future needs. Whenever that may be built out, I don't think there's any reason to add separate multifamily. Now, if it happens to be a piece of a larger, more extensive project, then possibly so. The key there is if there's existing zoning in place, what do we do to mitigate what those impacts are for that multifamily? And one is, you know, maybe thinking outside the box as far as requiring, because you can't change the zoning, but there's ways to adjust maybe what the requirements are within inside that zoning for that type of multifamily. Say you require the multifamily to have, you know, a parking garage. Well, that's going to adjust what quality is there. A parking garage attached to a multifamily, the quality is going to be different.
Okay, so 4 minutes of group conversation here on apartments. So whoever wants to have at it first.
I'll jump in. I think, you know, one of the things this council's addressed is on future multifamily apartment complexes, putting PIDs in place where, you know, if for some reason down the road, the owners of these facilities do not maintain them, then the city can go in and fix what needs to be fixed and put liens on these properties. So I think just trying to come up with different creative controls. But I think it's important to understand these are not 70s style apartments that we're talking about. These are $100 million projects. They bring a tremendous amount of tax revenue to our community, especially if they have retail, which I won't vote for one if it doesn't. I want to see retail at the bottom. I want to see in a plan development with other things, a mixture of many things. So, you know, I want to see them generate sales tax revenue as well. That's just property tax.
Yeah, one of the key things when, you know, even when developing a project, I mean, looking at what is that facility going to look like and what is the makeup of that facility. When you get to the point where those developers coming in and you're limiting the units or the types of units and to where there's 1 and maybe 2 bedroom units, and at that point, that type of facility is geared towards a young professional, and that's type of facility is what they need to be. They don't need to be the family style types of units, because I think there's an opportunity to separate those projects to where they don't have an impact on our schools, because when they have those 1 and 2 bedroom units, I mean, I think the numbers pretty well pan out to where, you know, a 350 unit opponent is going to throw somewhere around 30 to 35 students across 12 grades. So that's not, in the grand scheme of things, a huge number, a huge impact on our school system. So you have the opportunity that if they have that zoning in place, then working to where that zoning has some limitations on it, that will make it ultimately a better project, because as far as tax revenue to offset the burden from the citizens, you know, multifamily pays the highest taxes in the entire city. I mean, as far as projects go, they're the highest tax paying entities, by far, more than any other industrial entity that we have.
And I agree on the impact on the schools. My understanding from the ISD is real similar to what Brent just pointed out. I think that making sure that the layout of multifamily would be in a way that would not impact the infrastructure or traffic that may impact a nearby school. We need to make sure that we're planning our plats and our layouts, site design to be in a way that's unobtrusive to the existing community around it. Also have transition from that multifamily, maybe townhomes or garden homes, to have that missing middle transition to where you get to your single family homes. There's a huge market right now. Not everybody wants the 4,000 square foot home with a fenced in backyard. The young professionals that are coming to Mansfield would want to have something that's a little bit more sustainable and not so labor intensive to maintain.
Right, it's realistically, it's just not affordable for a lot of our young folks, even, where we educate the smartest kids in the state, 35,500 of them in our district. It's a shame that, that when they choose to get out of college, or graduate from high school, they choose to go to our surrounding towns because we don't have that form of living for them. And I think it's important. I know in my case where, I lived in an apartment, I'm sure probably all of y'all have at some point. So it's not just, a certain demographic or class of individual that lives in apartments. I mean, it's a step in life, and wherever you can, you get your kids in school, typically is where you wind up living. So, we're missing it. Again, we're aging in place here in Mansfield. And at some point, we've got to address, how do we get these kids back here? And I think the apartment multifamily complex plays a role in that. That's what they want. If you don't believe me, go to South Lake, Frisco, Fort Worth, all of our surrounding cities, and that's where they choose to live. Even, I serve on the board at Methodist Hospital, and only 20% of our employees live in Mansfield. Now think about that. There's a lot of employees that work at Methodist Hospital that can afford to live here, but choose not to because they don't have the amenities. We do not have the amenities that they can get right down the road. So it's just something that we definitely need to address.
So I think, we talked about mixed use and having retail on the bottom floor of apartments. To your point, well, we've tried that right down here on Main Street in the lofts. Brent will remember this, Scott may. Retail was supposed to be a big part of those. If you look now, there's no retail down there. They've leased, those are for lease. So while that concept's a good concept in practice, it doesn't always work. The Bellagio over on Debbie Lane, that's a place where it did work. But those are really nice apartments. And there's a large population center there. Now, also, traffic is pretty awful at that intersection. So there's a balance. I just think we need to be careful before we start adding more population, more apartments. I think the school district knows more about this than anybody. I don't know how many children attend from apartment complexes. I know where I sub, there's quite a few. That's just the way it is. So I think we need to be careful. I think, yes, there's some zoning in place, but I also think there's some things we can do to limit those. Quality for sure. But we need to be careful before we start. We want retail. I mean, I agree. Retail would be great on the bottom of these complexes, but it doesn't always work. Prime example is right down the street. So we need to be careful before we do that. Obviously, you need a population, a walkable population. But honestly, I mean, Texans drive. We drive everywhere. We're going to drive to our amenities. It's just who we are. So, just my take on it.
All right, hang on, Scott.
Just to clarify, it sounds mentioned my name, I was not on council when that decision was made.
No.
Yeah, what's interesting, see, in my mind, this is not about us. this is about our kids and our grandkids. And, you know, everything I read, our kids and our grandkids, they're not nearly as excited about big cars as we are here. I mean, I'm like you, I like my truck.
Sure.
Okay, but my kids and grandkids, you know, a lot of these young folks, they have trouble affording cars. They're expensive. Insurance, trying to even qualify for them. So, I mean, as I've traveled around the country and I'm blessed to be able to do that, I've seen a tremendous shift in our young folks not owning cars, actually Ubering places or ride sharing. Or, you know, I was and again, in DC this past week and saw Brent's daughter. And she has no desire to own a car up there. She's walking everywhere. So I think, and again, as these zero emission cars, as the government shoves our children in that direction, and that's gonna happen. They're more expensive today. A gas operated average car costs 30,000, electric car costs 60. So, you know, I think you're gonna see less cars down the road, 30, 40 years from now than in Texas than what you see now. And I think, again, that's another big reason to build these walkable communities.
If people walk, I think there's a study out that actually says that Gen Xers, I guess, is that what we're talking about? I don't know, but I think what will happen is, and I think you're seeing it, you see charging stations all over the place now. I think there'll be a different type of car on the road, not necessarily a gas car. I think eventually, Gen X is talking about driverless cars now, electric cars. I think you've seen that. And I think there's going to be a transition to that. Uber's not going away, Lyft, those kind of rideshare programs are not going away, but neither are cars in one form or another, whether gas or electric or scooter or motorcycle. They're coming. Tesla's bet a whole bunch of money on it. So they're coming. Whether we stop, whether it's a temporary stop or not.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you one last thing. And we'll give you 2 minutes max. I'm telling the timer over there. But I would like to hear from each of you. Why should we vote for you versus your opponent? I've heard some similarities today. So give me where your differentiator is. I need to know. We're gonna draw a card. You don't get to just like ask for it. Okay, draw a card. Who's hot?
Got 9.
You're high.
You did?
Well, truthfully,
5 and 4.
you know, I said when I'm gonna be honest, guys like me, business guys, I have multiple businesses in town, employ multiple people. Guys like me don't have time for this, truthfully. But if we don't get involved, our kids and grandkids are in big trouble. Big trouble. I think the direction our city's growing, whenever you're growing a city, you need business-oriented folks involved. Every time I sit in a meeting with developers, I'm looking across the table at very, very smart business guys. So having a little bit of business background, I think helps. I think that's one thing that I feel like I bring to the table. Obviously, it's worked for our city the last couple of years. We accomplished a lot in 2 short years, and hopefully we can continue on that path.
You still got it. I'm surprised you're not gonna take the whole speech.
You're gonna give me 10 minutes? But again, I mean, I just feel like the way, once the city's built out, guys like me can go back to what we were doing before. And we can hire accountants and to keep score. It's all about scoring right now. We're in a very competitive situation. We call Grand Prairie, Arlington, our neighbors are our competitors. Again, like I said earlier, everything that they want or everything we want, they want as well. So working with our economic development people, coming at things from a business standpoint, is crucial right now. Trying to get the right economic development agreements in place to land the projects that we need for our kids and our grandkids. So all the taxes do not fall on our single family homeowners forever. They're already high, it's already high enough, it costs enough to live here. So, I'm just looking forward to continuing,
Okay,
you know.
now you're done.
Okay.
All right, who's next?
There's that. So, I'm really the contrarian here. I'm not interested in being like South Lake or Keller or Frisco or Grand Prairie or Arlington. I'm interested in being about Mansfield, what we do here. I don't have to have the latest and greatest. What I have to have is core services that work and infrastructure that works. I think that's more important than anything. Schools that work, class sizes of schools that work. I think economic development's great. I mean, we've seen it. 30 years with the city, I've seen pretty much all of it. From Klein Tools, from the recession that we managed through 9/11, COVID, all those things. And we were able to still maintain our tax bases and our distribution of our tax bases. It's really important to remember that. We've got to have the right mix. We've got to have a quality mix. So I don't have to be the latest and greatest. What I have to be is a great community with good schools, good roads, and good infrastructure, and take care of and maintain what we have. It's very simple for me. It really is. We have a good park system. We have a tax in place to fund that, and that's what we need to be doing. Taxes need to be lower. If you look at the formulas for the city and the schools, there's a way to do that. I think the Texas legislature is trying to address some of that with some homestead exemptions. And there's a way the city can do it too. There's a way to redistribute that economic development money that reduces taxes. And I think we need to look at those kind of things before we jump out and go for the latest and greatest. Not that that's great, not great. It's good if we can afford it. And also, remember this, there's a cost. School district knows this as well as anything else to maintain a school. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Scott Bowman, run for Mansfield City Council Place 3. I've known Brent a long time. Last time I split my head open, I was texting with Michelle to help with that. We've known each other a while and we're there for each other. And as he said earlier, we're pretty simple. We want what's best for Mansfield. I think the differentiator is going to be in that minutia. I've got 30 plus years of IT experience. I'm a problem solver. I look at data to solve problems. But at the same time, I'm president of the Parks Board, so I understand quality of life and how important that is. So I'm able to balance both of those concepts to make sure that we're going to have a really great future here in Mansfield. I've been engaged over the last 3-4 years. Came on the Parks Board in 2018 and had never stopped working with the city. I did run in 2020 and feel like I've just been running ever since. Staying engaged with what the city's doing, making sure I was aware, meeting with staff, meeting with council, also meeting with people. And I think that's what's one of the major pieces that we have with our council is we need to visit with our citizens and find out what is needed there, how they feel, and be advocates for those people. And I feel that I'm a real good person to do that. I'm a people person. I like to visit. I'm accessible. You add coffee to the mix and I'm there, and would love to be able to serve at this level, make sure that Mansfield is the best that it can be. I've got a very diverse family. I've got 5 kiddos, 22 to 9. Selfishly, I want my grandkids here. We're not to that point yet, but someday we'll be there. And we need to create an opportunity in the future that allows them to be included in that. Some of my children don't look like me, and I want them to have opportunities too. And I don't think that council by themselves can solve that problem. It's going to take the community to do that, and being involved in the community is going to help.
Well, Scott said, there's very variety of things that we're very similar on. But I think one of the differentiators is with my 20 plus years in banking, in working with businesses, being able to think critically on situations that come before council is imperative. You can't always go with the flow. You have to sometimes be a dissenting view, and that's okay. But those dissenting views also bring good conversation. And I think that's an important part from a council's perspective, that they always have multiple viewpoints that, that do you often, come to a consensus? Yes, but those dissenting viewpoints and those critical thinking viewpoints are important. From my perspective, one of the things that I've campaigned on before in the past, and I still think there's tremendous opportunities, is ways to help relieve the tax burden from our citizens. There's no reason at this point that we aren't continuing to increase our homestead exemption. I mean, as our tax base continues to grow, we continue to bring in revenue from other sources, from, especially with our sales tax dollars as high as it, that particular revenue source has become lately. We should be able to pass those savings on to our citizens and our businesses by reducing our tax rate. I think there's a great opportunity there that we're still missing, from that point. And a lot of people are concerned about whether it's in government at all, it's transparency. Now, I think transparency is important. I think the information often is available, but where we have an opportunity to improve is the communication about that information. Because not only is that information there and accessible in some form, but us being communicative about that and where it is and what is actually going on. I think that's a missing piece that we have an opportunity as individuals and as a city to improve on.
All right, guys, we're gonna end it there. We're gonna get off Facebook. We're gonna let the audience ask you a couple of questions. We've got about 10 minutes. But thank you very much for participating today, and good luck to all of you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.